Hey guys, so today I wanted to try out WebSockets and see how real-time messaging actually works in Node.js. So we are normally using HTTP for requests, right? So like that we also have WebSockets that lets us send and receive messages instantly without reloading the page. So we'll be connected to the server as long as we have that particular browser open or the user logged in or like that. I thought I would just go through with it, and I have built a very simple app. We are not going to use anything else, just the WebSockets within the Node.js. So we won't be using like a front end. We will be having a front end with just an HTML page, and we will just use the pure vanilla JavaScript for that. We won't be using anything like an Express or anything like this. So we won't be having any kind of authentication or any database to store the data. So we are just going to have like a simple application. So to see how the WebSockets work. Yeah. So let me just show you a demo of it now. So this is what we are going to build. So every time we refresh the page, a random ID will be generated for us, and we can do like two messaging, like broadcast messaging. So this message will be sent to all the users that are connected to the server, or we can use the private message as well. So we can just get the user ID of another server, and we can just put the ID in here, and then we can just put the message and we can send that as well. First, let's try out the broadcast message. So I'm just going to type hi here and send broadcast. So you can see that my ID has come here like 3283 to all. I hope that you guys can see it. I think the text is a little smaller, so I'll make it a little bigger while we're coding there. I also have another window open like above four of these instances. So let me just zoom out here so that it all fits in perfectly. Yeah. So we can see that the message to all the broadcasts has appeared here in all the four windows. So all the four windows have their own unique IDs that are connected to the server actually right now. So if I send an hello from here, we can see that it instantly sends that message to all the users. So let's try and send to this user like 8422 from here. So 8422. Oh, it's like a private message, right? So I'm just gonna write private or something like that. So we can see that is available only. So let's try to access this user from here. 2234. So hola, send. We can see the message here. So this data is not stored or anything. So if a user is refreshed, the data is lost and that ID is also like refreshed. So this is built to just to see how this real-time data transfer is working. So yeah, it's going to be. I think it's going to be a pretty small video compared to entire project. It's not like a bigger project, right? So let's get started. So first, let's just open up VS Code, and we are just going to use this WS alone. So we can just copy the line here itself. So npm install or npm iws, you can just use it. And I will also leave the code for those links that I'm showing here, and also for that code, I will put the GitHub link in the description below. So if you want to follow up with the code, you can just take it from there. So open up a fresh folder within VS Code, and let's go to the terminal. And first we have to init our Node.js, right? So we have to init like npm, right? So npm init. I'm just going to give all the defaults, so -y. Yeah. So once that is done, we can just paste in our code to install the WS WebSockets. Yeah, it has been installed. So we can just go into the package.json, and we can see that we have only WS installed here. And let's also add only one script here. So we can just run our server here, which is going to be we can use dev or start, since we are not going to use node here. So I'm just going to use start here. So here it's going to be node server.js, which we are going to create now. So I'm just going to create a new file here, server.js. So in this, let's import our WebSocket. So const WebSocket, if I can spell it right, yeah, require, and let's just import WS. So we have our WebSocket. Now we need to create a server from it. So const server is equal to a new WebSocket connection. So WebSocket dot, we need like a server with the capital S, and we need to specify a port here. So normally we'll be going with the 5000, right? If you're using a backend. So I'm just going to go with 8080 here, or we can use 5. So I'm just going to go with 5000. We'll see. So we don't have a database to store our clients or our messages, right? So for that, we are just going to use like an array to have the users inside, array or key value pair. So let clients be, yeah, empty braces for now, curly parentheses actually. And let's just start our server here. So server dot on. So this is a default function from WS. So in this we are going to get this error. We have lots of things here, but to keep things simple, we're just going to use the connection one, and we are not going to handle those error handlings and all in this video. So I just want to keep everything simple here. So we're taking the WebSocket in, and then we are having an arrow function that returns a lot of here. Actually the connection will be made inside this, so the code, whatever code we put here will be repeatedly run for every single user or every single time the WebSocket is accessed or anything like that. So first we'll just use a console log like user has been connected or something like that. So I'm just gonna go with connected for now. Yeah. So once we started the server, we need some kind of console log, right? For that, I'm just gonna use some console log and web server or WebSocket running on. So like HTTPS for WebSocket, we are having WS colon slash slash localhost, and we're using 5000. We can't directly access this within the browser, so browser handles only the HTTP and HTTPS, right? So we can't access in this. As you can see, we can run it in Postman also, but we are just going to handle like a fetch request inside the JavaScript side within the HTML page. So now let's try and start this. Since we are using start, we can just go with npm start. So if you're using anything else, you would have to use npm run start or something like that. Then it will work. So now the WebSocket is running actually. So we have no problem here. We haven't done anything here other than, so let's see if that connected is coming whenever we access it. So for that, let's just have a simple UI for now. So I'm just going to create a index.html here. So, and we can just use a exclamation mark within VS Code, which will create a boilerplate code here. So the title will be WebSocket. And here we'll just have a p tag like user hello world. So within this we need to have a script tag. So here we need to connect to our socket. So socket will be equal to a new WebSocket, and we just need to provide that URL here. So ws colon slash slash localhost port of 5000. So this will just create the server, sorry, not the server, it will create a connection to the server. And we also have like a few inbuilt function here like on open. So if we call that, what we should do on message and like that. So we will do that first. Let me just open up this page and we'll see if there is a console log here like connected. So we will know that our WebSocket is working. So for that, so this HTML page is not directly connected with the server or anything. So we need to open this location within the browser. So I'm just going to right click and copy path of this HTML file, and then we can just open up the browser and go to a new tab and paste that location there. You can see user here. So if I go back to the VS Code now, you can see it has been connected. So every time I refresh, there will be multiple connected here. Yeah, so everything is working now. So we have a basic WebSocket server ready. So let's configure it for our messages and stuff. So I've stopped the server for now. Let me just minimize the terminal. And inside our server.js, we need to write few functions here. So the first thing we need is like a user ID. So we need to assign every time a connection has been made. So we need a random user ID, right? So for that, I'm just gonna go with const user ID will be equal to math.float so that we can round off things. So we will be taking 1000 plus math.random, and then we'll just multiply with 9000. So with this we will get our 4-digit values. Yeah, now we just need to add that to our clients. So clients with the user ID, we need to add that WS. So it will assign that WebSocket to that connection. so that connection, particular connection to it in the client with the ID, so we can access whenever the that particular user have called the server. Yeah. So in the console log, I'm just gonna change it to backticks, and then we can just say user and dollar parenthesis curly brackets, actually user ID connected. So now it will assign a user ID to the users and it will show us. So let's try it out by npm start. Yeah, if I go to the browser now, if I refresh the page, you can see user 9576 has been connected. So refresh the page again, can see that a new user has been connected. Yeah, that's how it works. Now we need to send this assigned user ID to the client, right? Now we have connected with the client, so we can just send and receive data here. So let's send our data to the client now. For that, we can use ws dot send. So ws is the particular connection that we are getting from the client. We need to pass in like our body that we send in our http request. So it's going to be like a json format, so we just need to stringify it. We can put any kind of data here, so we can just send user id. Yeah, we can just send the user id here. If we go to the html part now, yeah, here we have a method called onOpen. So socket dot onOpen equal to, so it's going to be like an arrow function. So here we'll just console log it like connected to the server. Yeah. Now we need to get a message like whenever we receive it from the server, we need to do something, right? For that, there's a method called on message. So in this on message, we are going to get an event. Yeah, so we can get our data by parsing it with JSON dot parse, and we just given the event dot data. Yeah, so now we know that this data has only the user ID, right? So let's just console log it and see it. So data dot user ID. Is the server running now? Yeah. Let me just start the server. And if we go to the browser now, and if we just inspect it, console. So I'm just going to refresh it now. As we can see, it's now showing that the connected to the server and the ID is 7816. And if we go to VS Code again, we can see user 7816 has been connected. So everything is working properly. So now let's go to the messaging part, the actual user messaging like back and forth with other users. So I'm just gonna close the server again, server.js. So now we have sent the ID to the user, right? Now the user has to do some actions, like they will send some messages to the another user, right? So we will also have a message here within the server to handle, right? For that, inside the server.on, we have like ws.on. So in that connection on a particular segment, so whenever we receive a message, we are going to do something. So we're going to take that message as an input, and then yeah, so that will also come in like a JSON stringified format. So let's parse that. So data will be equal to json.parse message. So till now everything is okay. So here, if I go to that example that previously shown, we can see there are two kinds of message here. One is the message of broadcast, which will be sent to all the users connected to the server, and another is a private message that we can send with a particular ID. Yeah. So what we can do is that we can assign like a type within the JSON, like a broadcast type or a private type with the message. So there will be two keys here. So one is the type, so which is specify it's a broadcast or private, and the next one is the actual message that has been sent to the particular user or the group. And for user ID also we have to do that like it's a type of user ID, right? So instead of sending just the user ID in the front end, we will know what kind of data it is. So we can just use if condition and filter it accordingly. So here I'm just gonna say like user ID is user ID, and we have one more thing. The first, this is going to be type. So we can have whatever name we want here. I'm just using type here. So I'm just gonna say ID. So the income data is an ID. We will know that in the front end side, and we can just act accordingly. So same goes for our data here. Yeah, so from the front end side, we will get that this type as well. So within the if condition, we will just go with data.type and we will check it with the type condition and we need a string of broadcast. Yeah, so if it is a broadcast, we have to do something, right? And for now, I'm just going to console log like a broadcast message. Oh, I haven't added within the codes. Okay. So if it is not the case, we are going to check with else if and we need the data.type should be equivalent to private, and if it is a private we have like an id like 2, right? So person a is sending to person b, so we will like have a 2 there, so to 2, so we will know who are we sending this message to. So we have to make sure that user exists in our client still connected. If the user is not connected to the server, we don't have to send the message, right? So we have to make sure that too. So clients square bracket data.to. So this will make sure give a like a true or false that the ID is there or not. And for this, again, we'll just console log like a private message, private message. Right now, all the things are directly added to the clients itself. So when the user is disconnected, that particular ID is not disconnected from the clients. So as long as we have the server on, the data will be stored within this clients, right? So whenever the user is going out of the server, like they're closing the connection, we need to take them out of the this client's data, right? So for that, we have a function called ws on close as well. So I'm just going to call it here. So ws dot on close. So make sure all of this is within the server dot on. So on close should be like on and in quotes it's close. So on close without this quotes and all comes in the front end side within the HTML JavaScript that side. Close. Let's take in an arrow function and we'll console log it like before within the backticks user, and we'll have the user ID here and we'll just say disconnected, and then we have to delete that id, so delete and say the clients. I'm just gonna pass in the user id. Now whenever the user refreshes the page, the new id will be assigned to them and the old id will be deleted from the server, meaning that they have disconnected from the server. Or if they close that particular tab also, it will happen the same. So we are done with most of the things here. So we haven't just done the actual messaging part now, but we'll just test it out. So I'm just going to start the server, and if I go to the front end now, refresh the page, and if I go there we can see that the user 7557 is connected. So I'm just going to open the new tab with the same location, so it's like a new user now. So if you go to the server now, we can see like a user 3436 has been connected. So I'm just going to close the previous one here, and if you go to the server now, we can see that the user 7557 has been disconnected. So it's all working as we have hoped, and we'll just do the actual sending message part on the UI in the front end side so that we can just work with it. Let me just close the server again. First, let's just do the broadcasting. So I'm just going to create a new function below, and then we can call the function there itself. So function, which is going to be like a broadcast. So we need two things here, user ID, so that the other users know which the user has sent this particular message, and then the actual message that the user is sending. Yeah. So we need to loop through our clients, right? So we have like a key value pair. So objects or object dot values. So we are just taking the values from the clients actually, yeah. And we're just looping through it for each, and we are taking them as client, and we have to make sure that they are in the ready state, like the connection is turned on. So client dot ready state is equivalent to WebSocket with the capital W dot open with full caps on, and then the new curly braces, and now we are going to send it to that particular client. So client dot send, and we're just going to stringify the data, right? So json.stringify, and now we have to give them like a type. I don't think we need a type, but I'm just going to do it anyway, so we can be like a consistent thing. So type is going to be message, and the actual message is going to be backticks, and we're just going to put in that user id. So user id has been sent this to all, and that particular data is this message. So we're just going to send in this particular string there, and we can just put it inside our text box there so that all the users can see. So this loops through our clients and it sends to all the users, and we can also make sure that we are not seeing there, right? So in the example here, if I send like a broadcast here, it's also showing to me like Hue broadcast has been sent, and it's showing to me again as well. So we don't want to send it to me, so we have to filter that out. So yeah, we have to filter that, right? So the ready state and the WebSocket dot open is clear, and we also need to check one more thing, that client. Yeah, so we can't access it with the client, so we have to access the clients. And yeah, so let's just see console log this client, and we will see what all the data we are getting. Yeah, we can see it here, right? So I'm just gonna console log it above. So when a user has been joined, we are assigning it to the client, right? So clients.user ID, we are connecting this particular WS. So let me just console log the WS here so that we know what the client is. Npm start and refresh the page. You can see a lot of things here. Parser. Yeah, so I don't think we will have our ID within this WS since we haven't assigned it. Or can we try assigning it within the WS? WS dot my id. I'm just gonna create a new name. My id is equal to user id, and then let's try and start the server. And let's okay, I have to start the server again. So in the console log, I'm just gonna go with my id, and then we need to restart the server again. And if I go to the browser now, refresh, yeah, now we can see the id has been. So yeah, now we have given the id within the WS as well, so we can access this with the client. Yeah. Now if we go down here, we can use that client dot my id. So ampersand. So client dot my id should not be equal to the user id. So if I'm the user sending the broadcast message, the I won't be sending that message again, right? So I'm the one sending the message, so I don't want to see that message sent to me again. This will work like that. So we need to send this broadcast if this if condition works. So if it is a broadcast type, we are just going to call the broadcast function with the user ID, the particular message, which is data.message. Yeah, so now that we have our broadcasts, let's just also add in for our private message, and then we'll go to the front end. Yeah, so same like this, let's create a new function, private message. Yeah, so this is also going to take few functions here, sorry, few parameters here. Make sure you're spelling the function correctly. So we will have our two. So this two is for the user. So which user we are sending that to, and we will also have a message here. So instead of looping through our objects, we have the particular ID we need. So we're just going to go with clients of two dot send. Then we are just sending our JSON dot stringified data here, which is going to be of type is going to be message, right? Yeah, message, and the actual message is going to be same as before, backticks, and we'll get the user id here. We need our user id as well, so we'll just get that also. Yeah, user id, hyphen, we need the two ID now. So two, and we're just going to put a colon, and we'll just show the actual message here. Message. Yeah. So now we have a private message, and we'll just pause in this condition. Yeah, private message, and user ID is our user ID. Two is our data.to, right? Data.to, then data.message. Yeah, so now we just need to build a front end part. Our server has been built completely. We don't have to do anything else in the server. It's a simple server. I haven't done anything like an error handling or anything like that. So it's a very simple minimalist server that works like a real-time messaging app. Yeah. So I am having like an idea to build like a chat application maybe in like the next month or so with a database like MongoDB or Redis or DynamoDB or anything like that with Nodejs as the front end. Of course, we'll see that. So make sure to subscribe for that. So inside our Nodejs, sorry, inside our index.html, now we just have to filter this on message, right? So we can't just directly access the data.user ID. So sometimes we won't be having that user ID. We'll be having data.message only, right? So we'll be having only two things as constant. One is the type, another is the message or the data type like that. So if the type is ID, we will have the user ID. If it's a type of message, we will have that particular message alone. Yeah. So let's just do that. So inside this data, we need to do the if condition here as well. So data dot type is equivalent to the ID. Then we have our own ID. So we need to assign that user ID will be equivalent to data dot user ID, and we can just manipulate our HTML here to show it to the user. So document dot get element by ID of user ID. So we haven't done the HTML part yet. Dot inner HTML, or we don't need the HTML. Like we need the inner text, which is equal to the user ID. So we haven't defined the user ID yet. So we'll just do it at the top here. After our socket, we'll just let user ID. Yeah, so the one other type that we are going to get apart from the ID is our type of message. So we'll just make sure we are getting that. So else if data dot type is equivalent to message, then we are going to add our message. So we are going to create a function called add message. In this, we are just going to pass in our data dot message, or add message, data dot message. Yeah, so let's create this add message function now. So make sure you're defining the function outside of this socket.onMessage. So let me just minimize the terminal for now. So here just going to go with function add message. We are just going to get our message here, right? Yeah, so first we need to get our text box, like the text area that we are going to display the list of text. So for that, I'm just going to call it like a messages box. Messages box is equivalent to document dot get element by ID. So the ID will be also messages box. Yeah. So in this we have to get put a new element, right, within a p tag. So I'm just going to use a p tag here. So const message. So already message is there. So I'm just going to go with MSG here. It's going to be document dot create element. We're just going to create a new HTML element of p, so which is going to be the p tag. And in this message, we need to add few stylings as well. So class list, which is going to be text of hyphen white, and then we are going to be MB of hyphen one within quotes. So this is TailwindCss classes. So we haven't added the TailwindCss yet. So we will do it in a minute. So we don't have to install anything for that. We'll just use in a play CDN. So that is available only for the development side. So we'll just use it for that. So now we have a p tag. We have done a little bit of styling with it, and we need to add in our content, right? So dot text content should be equal to our message. So our tag is ready now. We need to add it to a message box. So message box will have like a list of objects or an array of, not like an object like the p tags. So with that we need to append our child. So append child is going to be MSG. Yeah. So we need to set one more thing is that we need like an auto scrolling thing if the like the text box area gets bigger. So we don't have to do this. I'm just going to add it anyway. So message text box dot scroll top. So yeah, scroll top will be equal to message box dot scroll height. Yeah, so it will just auto scroll to the top or top. I think it will just scroll to the latest message that's coming in one by one. So now we have like identified our data. We have written the functions to add the data to our text boxes, but we have to send in our messages first, right? So we have to write code for that. Only then we will be able to receive the message from the other end. So first, let's write the function to send the personal or the private message. So function is going to be send personal. Well, let's go with private. So we are using private ID. Let's be consistent here. Yeah. So here we need to get our two user. So which is going to be from a text field. So we will be assigning an ID there as well. So document dot get element by ID, and let's just say private user ID, and we need to get its value. So I'm just going to copy and paste the same here, but we are just going to get the message which is going to be like private message, like private message. Yeah, so we will be getting this id in like a text field, so it will be inside a string, right? So we have to change that. So we have to trim that actually. So to user dot trim, and we also need to trim in our message as well. So message dot trim. So if both can be trimmed, yeah, we will send in that socket dot send and json dot stringify. Yeah. So here we will have our type, which is going to be private or broadcast, right? I think that's it. So if we go to server, we can see we have a broadcast, we have a private. Yeah. So here the type is going to be like a private. So make sure you're using a case sensitive. So if you're using private with the capital P there, make sure you're using the same casing here. Otherwise, the message just won't be displayed in the text area because the message would have not been sent, right? And we also need the two here. Two is going to be two user, and we need our message. So once we send it to the user, we don't want it won't be sent to us, right? But we need to say that in our particular chat that we have sent a message, right? So we will add the message for us here. So add message. So here we'll use our backticks. Why it's showing like an error? Oh, okay. We have to come out of this since parenthesis. That's it. Yeah. So now we can say like you have sent a message to that to user, and what is that message will be inside this message. Yeah. So we will add this to the front end. So it will be shown inside the text box for us that we have sent a message, and we have to now like eliminate the field, right? Sorry, by eliminate I mean like clear the text field so that we can just enter the new field easily. Yeah. I'm just going to give like an empty quotes. Yeah. I'm just going to copy the same thing and private message. We are going to do like it's the same thing for our broadcast as well, but with the less data, of course. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it again at the top. Send broadcast. I'm just going to use a small c here. Yeah. So we don't need the two user here. So we need the message, but which is going to be like the broadcast message, right? Broadcast. So this is a different field that we are going to be used for our broadcast. So if you see here, so this is the broadcast message field, and this is the private ID and the private message field. So we get our message, we just need to see if we can trim our message alone. And when we are sending in the type, we have to say it's a broadcast. Make sure you're using the caching properly. And we don't need the two here. We're just sending the message. And in that message, we are sending to not to all the users, sorry, not to the particular user, we are sending to a broadcast, right? So yeah, I'm just gonna say like to all, we send it to all, yeah. And then we just need to remove this broadcast message alone, yeah. So this is going to be the function for our send broadcast. So now we have our JavaScript JavaScript site ready. So all we need to do is to add a little bit of UI. So I don't think we should go over like the Tailwind CSS part here, writing those stuff. So I'm just gonna copy and paste it here. So I will just go through the line from top to bottom anyway. And if you want the code, you can just copy it from the GitHub link below and you can just go through it as well if you're following along. Or if you want to type it out, you can just pause in as I'm explaining the code and you can just type it there. So yeah, first let's just add our Tailwind CSS here. So for that, open up your browser and yeah, you can just use only this inside the development server alone. So that's what they have recommended for. So Tailwind CSS, place CDN, and we can just go with the first URL. And you can see that the use place CDN is to try the Tailwind in the browser without any extra build steps. Yeah, for that only we're going to use this. So copy the script tag and paste it in the head tag. Yeah, now our Tailwind CSS will work. So I'm just gonna copy some divs here like our data. So before that we need to add some class to the body, right? And let me just copy the data here. Instead of the feed tag, send private. Yeah, so for you the code will be correctly specified here. So let me just make sure everything is okay. Yeah, so let's just go from the top here. So yeah, body. So we have given it like a flex. So we're just centering with the screen size and we're just giving a minimum height of screen. So we will have the box within the center of the page and we have the background as a dark gray color and with the text of white. Yeah, so we are getting another box here that we can see here. So this is the background gray of 800 in that box, and we can see the WebSockets. And I'm just going to give it a user ID here. So we have a viewer user ID, and we will have a span tag of ID here. So with this ID only, we are accessing it in the script tag here. So if we go here, once we get our ID, we are giving it with a dog element dot ID user ID dot init user ID, right? So we are changing this span tags ID only. So until then, it will be showing like a loading there. So for us, it will be like we won't be able to see this loading since it will just connected to the server. It's in the local host and it's a simple server, so it won't take any time. Yeah. So, and I have created the rest of it within the flex. And within this flex, we have two different flex. One is the message box and the other one is the text boxes. So this is a separate flex and this is a separate flex and this both two are in a single flex. And yeah, so here I use the flex as a column and the whole thing is like a row. So within this, I have two boxes like we have seen. So one is for the broadcast message, the another one is for the private message. So I'm just not going to explain the UI part a bit more. Yeah. So this is the send private button here. So just give the on click send broadcast and the same goes for our private message as well. So we have an input for our ID. So make sure we are having the correct IDs here and on click will be send private. Yeah. And we have our, yeah, so this is kind of like our text area. So I'll just use the div here. This is going to be the message box, so which has the ID message box, and we have a little bit of CSS here. So in that only we are going to add like the list of these p tags and we'll just show it there. So I think we are done with our UI stuffs and everything. So let me just start in our server npm start. Yeah, so if I go to the browser now and refresh the page, Now we can see our user here. So it's just like before. So every time I refresh, we can see a new ID has been generating. And we can also see the loading as well. Yeah. And if I go to the VS Code, you can see that we have a lot of users disconnected and connected everything. So since I've just pressed refresh multiple times, it has been like that. Yeah. So we need to see if it's working, right? So yeah, I'm just gonna copy this URL. So the new URL that we have built, and I'm just going to go to that four UI boxes, yeah. And I'm just going to paste the new URL here. So the file has been changed, right? All the four sites. Yeah. So let me zoom out a bit. So we can see all of them have a different ID. So I'm just gonna send a broadcast message. Hi, all send, and it is not sending to everybody. So we have an error. I think so. So let's just try with the ID 7145, which is going to be this ID. Hi. It is also not sending there. So I think it's because of that particular. I think this is an old one. Yeah. So this is the old one that I've tried building before recording this video. So I'm just gonna close this window. So let me just go back to our VS Code, and yeah, we can see that the server has been crashed. So WebSocket is not found. Inside server.js, 34th line, WebSocket is not found. Think I've like defined it wrongly. So I have used the small w here and I used the capital W here. So that's the mistake here. Make sure you're using the cases correctly. So I'm used to using TypeScript mostly, so that will take care of this while coding itself. Yeah, npm start. Now let's try it out. So I'm just gonna refresh all the pages for now. Let's refresh. Let's go back there and see if there's any error. No, all the four users are connected now. Just go. Now I'm just gonna say hi all send. You can see the message here. So you to all hi all, and we have my this particular ID with hi all. Yeah, I'm just gonna send another message from here. Hello. Yeah, we can see this particular ID 6609 is coming there as well. So I'm just gonna send a private message from here to her. So 4247. How are you? Send. Yeah, you can see this here. I'm just gonna write it back at 8282. It's a fancy ID. I am fine. Yeah, we can see that they are interacting like we have like a real-time message that are sending we are sending with without refreshing the particular page. So we don't have a database yet. So if I refresh it now, we can see the ID has been refreshed. So if I try to send it to 4247 again with an hi or anything like that, yeah, it says it has been sent since I have not done any error validation there. But this user has been logged out, right? So if we should go here, it says that 4247 has been disconnected, and we can see that the private message is console log whenever the private message has been sent. Even though we have sent a new private message, it is not console logged here. So in the backend side, it's not working like that. So, but in the front end, we can say that the new message that has been sent is inside the message box, right? For that, we have only like we have tried to add just like that here without before sending it to the user itself. So here, yes, you can see we're just giving that add message here itself, and before sending, after sending it to the user directly, we're not checking if the user actually exists, because I thought the code should be much simpler, right? Otherwise, we have to write a function to check if the user exists, and then we will add the message here. So we can do that if you want, we can just do that. But in order to keep this simple, I've just built it like this. Yeah, I think that's all. Yeah, so let me just send it to the new user here. Say 9. Hola. Yeah, you can see that I have sent it to this user. Yeah, it's working great now, and I'm planning to do like an application, chat application, which will be kind of like an messaging app like WhatsApp or something like. So we will have like a multiple users, authenticated users will maybe get in like in with the email ID. We'll use Firebase in the background. I don't know. Yeah, we'll use something. I will build something up with the Nextjs in the front and maybe MongoDB at the background. Or I think the MongoDB might be slow since we are just using real-time data here. We'll see about that, and I will keep you guys posted. If you guys like this video, give it a like and subscribe for more.